Week 7 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few quarterbacks. I have as sleepers this week. The first guy, Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions. So Jared Goff, he's going back to Los Angeles in this game in Week 7, where they traded him obviously in the offseason for Matthew Stafford. And Jared Goff, it's been a struggle for him this season. And head coach Dan Campbell called them out after the latest loss in Week 7 versus the Cincinnati Bengals. So in my opinion, I think Goff, he's going to wake up this week here versus his former team, and he wants to show them that they gave up on him too quick, in his opinion, maybe. So this week, I think the Rams obviously going to blow out the Detroit Lions in this game, but we could see a lot of garbage time from Goff, and I could even see earlier in the game Detroit coming out the first few possessions of the ball game with good game plans, Jared Goff coming out sharp, and it wouldn't surprise me if he did finish this ball game with 20 or 25 fantasy points versus team, but I don't think the Lions are winning. I'm just saying he will be motivated and want to play harder, especially after his coach calling him out and versus his former team who traded him away in the offseason. The next quarterback I have as a sleeper this week is Jimmy Garoppolo of the San Francisco 49ers. So Jimmy G, it looks like he might be back this week as the starter. In the first 3 games of the season before he went down with his injury, he was pretty solid with 20 or more fantasy points in each game for Jimmy G. And here in Week 7, it's a pretty decent matchup on paper versus the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday Night Football. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. So Trey Lance, he's been banged up as well with his knee injury and not practicing. And Garoppolo right now, he's available in a whopping 90% of fantasy leagues. So obviously in the deepest of leagues, or 2 quarterback leagues, Garoppolo is definitely a sleeper option to play this week. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him eclipse the 20-point fantasy day once again if he indeed plays in this game. And the third and final quarterback I have as a sleeper this week's Geno Smith of the Seattle Seahawks. I know it's a tough matchup on Monday Night Football, but the Seahawks are at home versus New Orleans Saints team that gives up the second least amount of fantasy points to quarterbacks. And Geno Smith in his first start of the season, Week 6 at Pittsburgh, 209 passing yards, a touchdown, and a fumble loss. So right there, the ball over really in that ball game. He kept his team in the game, and they lost in a tough overtime battle. And right here versus the Saints on Monday Night Football, in a game that I think the Seahawks definitely need to win here, with that division obviously slipping away and a lot of good teams in the wild card race, Geno Smith, he's going to have to come out here on national TV once again and play a good game, in my opinion. And right here, it wouldn't surprise me to see him crack 20 fantasy points or more. And obviously with him as well, it's the deepest of leagues, or 2 quarterback leagues with all the buys, where I would play Geno Smith. So that's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers here in Week 7 of the fantasy football season.